Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy 2022. It's funny, in January of 2021, I wished one of the senior cruise executives a Happy New Year. And her response to me was said, well, doesn't feel like a new year. It feels like the 13th month of 2020. So now that we've entered January of 22, it's kind of like the 13th month of 21. We pretty much have started off the new year the same way we left the last year. But the good news is, and it seems like all of the experts, whether they're travel industry or far more important scientific medical experts, feel that with the current surge in Omicron, that we will be hitting a peak. There's some disagreement as far as when that peak will be, but it's coming soon. And there's a tremendous amount of optimism that we are entering the stage when the number one thing that we'll all be talking about will no longer be COVID. So as far as looking at 2022, I'm looking for it to be fun again. I was at a conference and Michael Bailey was speaking a little bit about what he's been through, the president and CEO of Royal Caribbean International. And he's really been a leader as far in the cruise industry, as far as bringing the cruise industry to the forefront of protocols and safety and health. And he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, this guy has worked like crazy. And he said he's actually kind of, as interesting as it was, he's looking forward to getting back to the fun part of the business. And I think we're all looking forward to getting back to the fun part of the business. The last few months have really actually been, besides for Omicron, have actually been really exciting for the cruise industry. While the industry was on a pause for such a long time, ships continued to get built. And all of a sudden, the last couple of months, all of these ships that had been delivered over the COVID period were actually having their coming out parties. They were having their inaugurals, and the innovation in each of these ships from a guest point of view is just unbelievable. You go from one to another, and each cruise line has a vision of what they're looking at, and it's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to just really being able to enjoy all of that, and looking forward to 2022. The other thing that doesn't get as much publicity is what the cruise lines are doing environmentally. These new generations of ships coming out, whether it's LNG or a hybrid, and I'm not going to get into a whole technical conversation, but there's so much going on the environmental end in the cruise industry that I'm really looking forward to this. The cruise industry has become a leader in sustainability, whether it's environmental, and there's no question when it comes to health and safety. I can't think of an industry that's done a better job.
I share your enthusiasm, Roger. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. And we say safe trips and calm waters. And I do think that calm waters will come. Even though today, in January, we see a stir up in some of the cruise lines and the ships. I think that the cruise lines and the ports, let's not forget the ports, have done a tremendous job around the world developing protocols. And to tell the truth, I was in Gran Canaria over New Year's, and I visited the port. I could not resist. And people were smiling, people were enjoying the pre-boarding procedures, and there was not a problem at all. And even though, yes, there's a spike now with Omicron, I think that this will subside. I think that the pattern we seem to be following the pattern from South Africa. Here in Greece, already the cases starting to, numbers to get lower, and this is very encouraging. And I've been talking to the cruise lines in the last couple of weeks to see what they think, and everybody seems to be very optimistic that the season, especially here in Europe, will start as normal in mid-March onwards. and that passengers will again have the pleasure of coming. And you know what? Everybody now in the cruise industry and the cruise passengers are either double or triple vaccinated, so they feel safer. I would feel, I've said this publicly, I will repeat this now, I would feel much better traveling on a cruise ship than anywhere else, because I know that if I need to seek assistance, I will find assistance, I will find testing. Everybody next to me will be also vaccinated, so I will feel safer. And as far as for 22, I think that we will see more people wanting to travel. We saw that in 21. I know, and I had the pleasure of welcoming you here in Greece in my house, Roger and Shannon, last summer, and we had these great barbecues. But I want to see you again and again and again, and I want to tell to the people out there that go to your bookings. Deals are excellent at the moment. You can find magnificent offers from all cruise lines, and book your holidays. Yes, you get insurance, of course, but if I were you, that's what I would do. Shannon, back to you.
I have to say that I agree with both of you. I mean, Roger and Giannis. So I think it's all very well said, Roger. As you said, I'm excited to get back to the fun, sexy side of the business, which you look at the cruise business, and especially in the space that we're in when it comes to destination space, it's so exciting. I mean, we really do have that sexy side of shore excursions and getting to go out and do all these fun and exciting adventures anytime that you're in port. So I'm really excited about that. I am excited to get back on the high seas and travel again. Giannis, it was great to see you this summer, and now it'll be Roger and I's time to host you, although I'm not sure that we can match your barbecuing skills, or at least I can't match your barbecuing skills. But in any case, we're looking forward to hosting you when Seatrade comes back around in April. But the other thing I would like to just touch on outside what you both mentioned, I do think sustainability is another big key, Roger. I know that's something I've been talking about with a lot of my clients, is the sustainability factor and how they partner with the cruise lines as the cruise lines resume into some of these ports, because we've had some of the major ports resume cruising this last year. There's so many smaller ports that still have not seen a cruise ship. I know we only just recently welcomed our first ship back to Hawaii, but that is a big part of the conversations. Now, how do we partner with the cruise lines to become better partners and creating the sustainability around on both sides in the destination and for the ships? But the other piece that I'm super excited about is technology. What I saw over the last year, and Roger, you and I have talked about this, by no means has the cruise lines been sitting back and just waiting for cruising to resume. It's been all about the technology. And there is some fantastic technology that has come out over the last year that I'm super excited about, that really just makes that whole and entire cruise experience seamless. And I think that's a big piece. And I think we're going to see more technology coming out, from the facial recognition, the medallion program from Princess. But I'm sure there's a lot more on the way. I know they all have their apps now, and they're integrating new features into the apps. So I'm super excited to see what's going to happen around technology and the cruise industry. I think they really have started to become cutting edge, and they're out there and looking at what's the greatest that's on the market today, and even developing some of their own.
I would say, firstly, more digitalization. So the last 2 years, we've seen a real acceleration of digitalization in areas such as contactless technologies and virtual mustering. And this, I think, is just going to continue through 2022 as more ships are returned to service with the latest technologies on board. That's number one. I think, secondly, the use of IoT for operational efficiency. So I think sustainability and climate sustainability is still like the number one focus in the industry that we're seeing. And we're seeing a lot of investment in reducing emissions and operational costs. I think in 2022, we'll see an increased use of IoT, or the Internet of Things, and IoT data analytics for things like predictive maintenance and automation to further reduce the operational costs. That's number two. And I think the third one is cloud, or the use of further use of cloud. So about 5 years ago, our company, the Iceway, we pivoted our offering to build up a lot more cloud competencies, and now we're a cloud-first organization. Now, the thing about cloud is it offers more scalability, elasticity, and security over traditional hosted infrastructure. And many cruise lines now are realizing this, and they're starting to utilize a lot more cloud services to leverages all the advantages that it gives.
We can never forget what this industry is about, and creating special moments for the guest. And as technology emerges, we always must remember it is our job to make people smile. With that said, I think the first trend we will see to continue to emerge in 2022 is immersive experiences. I believe that immersive experiences and unique experiences will continue to set cruise brands apart. The more creative and innovative we get, while making sure we're creating something that is operationally successful, will be key. And that should stand out and should start at the port and continue until when the guests depart. People are craving elevated experiences, and they are looking to escape. And what better way to do this on a cruise? And we need to leave our guests with an emotional souvenir. And for example, having started in the theme park business and now having years of cruise ship experience behind me, I have witnessed many similarities, but one thing that I think the cruise industry has not capitalized on is consumer events. In theme parks, Halloween and holiday experiences are the biggest revenue generators, and it is time for the cruise industry to capitalize on this. And while it may not be a focus for the entire cruise, I see an infusion of sensory experiences, Instagrammable decor, and seasonal centric experiences as a focus. And like, really, who wouldn't want to go through a haunted house at sea? And yes, there's a way to make that happen, even with the space constraints that we have. So that would be immersive experiences, I would say, is trend number one. The second trend is a theatrical approach to everything. If we look at fundamentals of theater design, it is really everything we're creating on board a cruise ship: scenic, lighting, audio, props, costuming, the list goes on. But we have yet to take it further and approach the engagement of human interaction to the next level. We need to treat our team members as characters of the experience. In 2020, RWS launched the RWS Fun Crew, a staffing solution for front of house operations in theme parks and resorts. From attractions and ride operators to food and beverage support, we took a theatrical approach to everything. Each ride had a story and a song. Each food and beverage host had jingles and magical moments they performed for the guests. And it elevated the experience, and guest satisfaction rates really spoke for themselves. And third, it's not exactly a trend, but I believe a necessity, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is something that needs to be attentioned internally, and when we begin to see the influence that it has on how we curate guest experiences on board. Both internally and externally, we must realize that team members and consumers alike are not the same. And while the standard approach to creating a guest experience may work for most, it is not enough anymore. From an internal standpoint, we need to infuse our business practices with cultures from around the world, and this will allow us to create menus for our guests. And this will allow guests to pick and choose and curate an experience for making it more special for everyone.
Like many, I believe the pandemic has really awakened the general public's desire to travel. People are naturally pandemic weary. They've been deprived and despondent for too long, so the pent-up desire to get out there and start ticking off those bucket list items is almost tangible and very exciting. And so, to my top trends for 2022, in no particular order, I might add. Well, I think tech and onboard features will remain prominent fixtures in 2022, and their offerings are only set to expand. We've already seen touchless embarkations such as online check-ins and boarding passes accessed and displayed via phones. But I think we're going to see an increase in the use of QR or quick response codes on board to access meal and drink menus, activity schedules, and so on. And with that in mind, guests are really going to have to get used to being comfortable keeping their phones handy when on board and using the ship's service app. Touchless screens, wristbands, ocean medallions will be key to tracking shore excursions, spa treatments, and children. I think we're going to see a lot more gadgety stuff and contactless environments. So yes, I think that technically enhanced cruises will be big news and will become the norm. And new destinations, I think we can all agree that itinerary planners have certainly been kept very busy these last 2 years, hidden off the beaten track gems in the form of smaller ports that are only accessible to smaller ships are proving to be very popular and provide passengers with a real feeling of exploration and authenticity, 2 of my big words for 2022. So I'm going to include expedition and small ship cruising on my list of trends too. Smaller ships mean smaller crowds, something that I believe will be appealing to many. I also think that the fact expedition cruising's big focus on outdoor activities and sailing to remote locations will be seen as a bonus, as this has been a priority for many during the pandemic. People are really eager to get out and enjoy exploring the world again, which brings me to another of my predicted trends, solo travel and women-centered travel. Solo cruising really is nothing new, but has always been known to be costly. And I predict we'll be seeing more cruise lines acknowledging this and going the extra mile to cater to solo cruisers, offering more solo cabins and doing away with the dreaded extra single supplement. The same with women-centered travel. Cruise ships offer a safe, protected environment, and let's not forget, women are making more money than ever before and are keen to spend it, exploring in a time-conscious way, so cruising fits the bill beautifully. I also predict a rise in cruise interest from millennials and perhaps surprisingly, Gen Z. Don't forget, Gen Z, who are those, of course, born 1997 to 2012, is on the verge of becoming over 1/3 of the world's population. They are transforming everything, travel included. And having borne the brunt of isolation, they are more eager than ever to get out there and explore the world in a hands-on way, and no better way to do that than via an expedition-styled cruise. They're also very environmentally conscious and are looking for sustainable travel options. Again, expedition cruising fits the bill, given the amount of focus that they place on the environment, protecting wildlife, supporting indigenous communities, and of course, focusing on sustainable tour options and authentic experiences. Gen Z are also savvy when it comes to value for money. So again, cruise being all-inclusive, transportation, accommodation, food, it's almost made to measure.
2022, it's probably going to be a very exciting year. I think that there have been already a number of outcomes from the past 2 years that we can see happening. And I think they're all going to be intensified in 2022, as much as anyone can guess the tomorrow today. But one of the things that obviously became highlight is eco-sustainability, but with it came discussions about regeneration. How do we leave this world better than we found it? And specifically, how do we contribute to the destinations we visit? So I think there's going to be a deeper regenerative approach to destination visits. There is definitely more sensitivity to design, or what I call sensitive design, that is coming out, that is an outcome of the time we all spent at home, the time we had to reflect internally, but also the time we had to reflect about the environments we live in or we spend time in. And there is fascinating thinking, research, outcomes already in practice that I see that are coming out in the way that we design spaces for well-being, for specific activities. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, a lot more of sensitivity from all ends to the way ships are going to be designed, to the way they're going to cater to the ability of guests to reflect while traveling, to be closer to their travel destinations, but also to be closer to themselves while they're on the way there, so while they're cruising. I also think that we're going to see a lot more responses to the things we've learned during the time we were all quarantined pretty much in our homes. And that's going to take many different forms and shapes. One of them is probably going to be an emphasis on more maybe affordable vacations on one hand, but with higher luxury value. It's just that I've seen, and I participate on thinking groups in the past year, that the new definitions of luxury are taking forefront, and there's more and more of those that are being embedded into the thinking of the brands, the operators. And I think a lot of it is going to be very evident during 2022. And if I can guess this year, then, or at least hope for a guess, then I definitely hope that there will be a lot more cruising, that many more people will be able to take to sea and in a slightly different manner than 2 years ago, in a manner that is enhancing the experience, that is all based on what we've learned over the last 24 years, and of course, what we learn every day.
We are going to continue to rise in 2022. People want to travel more than ever, and they're willing to spend more money on unique experiences. Companies will need to strive for innovative experiences that will allow their brand to stand out in the spotlight. They need to create FOMO. And for those old folks on this, that means fear of missing out. They need to create FOMO right from the start. They also need to make sure they're creating something that is sustainable and operationally successful, because that is how they will succeed and come out on top. While continuing to grow, I think 3 things that are on the top of the list for 2022 to always consider moving forward are diversity, authenticity, and most importantly, safety.
What is my broader outlook for cruising in 2022? Well, I think Europe is going to have a spectacular season. Northern Europe in particular, and those European ports with access to a robust source market, I think they're going to do exceptionally well. I also think shorter cruises will remain popular, as will island circumnavigations, such as those we saw in 2021, featuring, for example, the UK and Iceland. And I also see New Zealand becoming a part of this list sooner rather than later too.
And I think whilst there's a very real threat of new variants like this lovely Omicron that we've got going around now, I think that there's the protocols in place and they're robust enough to keep the industry on its restart trajectory. Now, through technology, we're able to control the environment on a cruise ship much better than in land-based scenarios. So I think there will be outbreaks on board cruise ships, as with everywhere else in society. But I think the technology and the response protocols that we've got are there. They're such that these things will be handled. I think the biggest challenge that we'll be dealing with this year is probably with localized restrictions and state entities. And we might see kind of more ships being redeployed into different areas of the world to avoid this as we go through the sort of tail end of this pandemic.
When we start looking at 2022 and beyond, I think that looking at the companies and who to watch and what to watch, I think that there's a lot of companies to watch. If I look at when I break down the cruise industry, I break down the cruise lines, but then going into the destinations and the technology space. But when you start looking at the cruise lines, I think there's some really fun, exciting new brands that have popped up that I'm eager to see where they take and how they mold their new brands and what they've created. We saw Virgin pop up in 2020, right? And so they really have created this big, bold vision. But now what I'm seeing is a lot of the smaller brands that are niche market brands. I just saw that Nico cruise line just rebranded. I just saw Swan Hellenic has run their maiden voyage. So I think there's a lot of small cruise brands out there that we're going to see some big things coming out, including American Cruise Line that just announced another 12 ships that they're going to be building for the coastal waters of the US. So there's a lot of exciting initiatives coming out from the cruise lines. But on the other side now, when you start to look at the destinations, I think the destinations have had the time to sit back and strategize over these last years without the ships coming about what they really want. And I think that's important. And it goes back into my last, tidbit that I shared, which is it's all about the technology. I'm super excited about the technology and what's going to come out of the destinations as well as the lines when it comes to integrating that technology into how they deliver the guest experience.
If I may take it from you, Shannon, I want to give a big public congratulations to the Greek government, not because I'm Greek, but they took the industry on the hand last year. They developed protocols. They were the pioneers on saying that we announced that in 2021 they will open on the 15th of May. I was just before this call another meeting, programming what's happening this year. So I will eager all governments, all ministries of tourism or in shipping around the world, please see what the Greek government has been doing and copy. It's a good example, it's a best practice. And I'm sure that when you are active and when you actively communicate with the cruise lines, you know what, today was the first day we restarted with the vaccination program in Greece for crew. And I'm so happy because I'm part of that, organization, but it's when you need assistance from the countries or from the local health authorities, please reach out and give it. Cruise industry doesn't forget, and I'm sure you'll see the benefits. That's one side of the coin. On the next side, I'm quite excited because I've seen the discussion starting to evolve, going from sustainability to what we will be calling transformational travel, transformational experience. And I think that we've seen through COVID that many cruise lines decided to reduce the number of groups, and that they did it for health reasons or for safety reasons. But we've seen that through those smaller groups, they can offer different experiences that you will embrace the local community, you will embrace the way they do work, the way they struggle sometimes to put the piece of bread in the table for their families. And through the transformational experience program, I think you will be given the opportunity to become one of these people, to set targets for yourself, seeing how others struggle and how others thrive, and by that becoming a better person. So for that and for the years after that, I think this is how we will become better in the travel and cruise industry as well. So I am very excited that some of the cruise lines and some of the private vendors have started working towards moving from sustainability, which sustainability has to do with carbon footprint, getting involved with local community, to how through my involvement I can become a better person. And this is the target.
Shannon, Giannis, both of you have really great points. There is a lot to look forward to now, and you both make great points. The technology that was driven a lot by trying to make things more touchless, more seamless during the past 2 years is something that will carry on and has really improved the experience. I was fortunately on a couple of Royal Caribbean celebrity cruises over the last month or 2 months, and embarkation, as opposed to standing in line, it is incredibly fast from the curb to the cabin. But debarkation also, with the facial recognition as you're going through the old-fashioned customs and border protection, re-entering the United States, it's facial recognition, and I have never moved faster out of a terminal. I mean, with no backup. All of this is fantastic on board the ship. There's so much more that's now touchless, that's now seamless. Things are just easier. And I think what's great is it's not technology for technology's sake. so that you don't feel like you're walking into something that's above you or futuristic. It's just makes it easy. It's nothing you have to learn. It's just easy. And I think that's wonderful. During this pause, cruise lines have worked hard. Obviously, they've worked incredibly hard as far as protocols to improve the health and safety of everybody on board the vessels. They were already, I think, leaders in the world, and they've taken it one step further, and that's going to continue. That it's just not something that they're going to say, okay, something's happening in the world, we better start doing this. It's just going to be routine on health and safety protocols. And again, it'll be something that's going to be invisible to people. It'll be seamless. It's going to be just behind the scenes how safe and secure things are going to be. And as far as the destinations, Giannis, I'm glad you brought it up. Not only have the cruise lines been still bringing in new ships, ports have been being built. Existing ports have had time to sit back and look at their procedures, just to make things easier, more seamless, have things working better. Ports have really taken time, and a bunch of new ports and terminals have also opened up in the last couple of years that are just incredibly cutting edge. So all of that is great. And looking towards the future, I think this is going to continue. I think that this innovation that was maybe forced upon us over the last couple of years, we're going to look back and say this is a good thing. We all had time to stop, take a look at what we're doing, take a look at our businesses, improve them, not just for health and safety, but improve them in every way. And I think for the cruise industry and for the destinations, the future is bright.
Well, there's too many to mention them all here, to be honest. We'll have to leave that for another time, a blog maybe. But one does stand out, and one that I for certain will be following along with, and it involves Albatross Expeditions, who are of course out there with the lovely Ocean Victory, which boasts the lowest carbon emissions per passenger. And like many expedition lines, they always try to support local charities and projects in the destinations they visit, which is not easy considering some of these places are completely off the charts. And South Georgia, I'm going to name this one, of course. So one of the charities they support is the South Georgia Heritage Trust. One of their projects is the creation of a beautiful piece of art, which is currently under construction at Grytviken. And why is this so important, art in a place like South Georgia? Well, Grytviken was one of the most productive whaling stations and factories in the world. Millions of whales were slaughtered there. And now, thanks to this art piece, which is under construction, it's becoming a place of incredible beauty, nature, and that word restoration. And it really is a place and symbol in the world that shows hope that we can restore and repair the damage that has been done to our planet. A very, very powerful symbol.
I don't usually like singling out specific companies in my role as ambassador, but I think one to watch is, I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I know there were some delays due to COVID, but definitely 22 is probably going to be the year to watch a company called Italio, who are based out of Hamburg in Germany. Now they've developed an onboard system that's being rolled out to one of the largest fleets in the world. And they've totally re-engineered the hospitality space in terms of onboard systems. And it's all based on latest technologies with many much needed functional improvements and innovations. That's probably my one that if I was going to pick one to watch in 22.
2020 and 2021 saw innovative and creative companies survive and new ones being conceived. So the options are really great out there. What I have noticed a growth in is the one-stop shop companies, as it has shown cost savings for everyone. Being able to hire a firm that can design, execute, and operate has a strong advantage for the end users, and I believe those type of companies will really shine in 2022.
Well, the inappropriate answer is probably having drinks with as many people as I can that I haven't seen for a long time. The more appropriate one would be that I'm extremely curious to see, to listen, and to converse with people about what all of us learned during the past 24 months The most recent Seatrade event in Miami, I think, was a very brave move to do that in the height of the process. And there was so much in it that came out. I had so many fascinating talks with people from the industry of all walks. And I think there's going to be a lot more of it in the upcoming Seatrade event. Like anybody else, I'm looking forward to seeing friends and people I work with and people I've only been conversing with virtually for a long time. But I also think that what will come out of Seatrade is a new vision. And this is always fascinating. So I'm looking forward to be part of the process, to be very close to the roots of the visions that are going to come out of the coming Seatrade. And it's definitely going to be fun. So in addition to everything else, this is always a reason to come.
Well, of course, the people, the networking. I can't wait to see my cruise family again. But I'm also excited to see the conference agenda and how the industry is gearing up to once again taking the travel world by storm. And I really believe that there is certainly a lot to discuss and get excited about. And I can't wait to see everybody there. Thank you.
Well, I think that answer is easy. What I'm most looking forward to at Seatrade Cruise Global in 2022 is seeing everyone. I think we're on the verge of growing the cruise industry to the next level and couldn't be more excited to work with everyone to get there.
This year is going to be quite different. I'm looking forward to it being a larger event than we had in September, so more people. I'm very confident that it's going to be kind of a big event this year. It's going to be a bit different as well, but one of the areas that we're looking forward to, or I'm looking forward to on the technical side, is the Interactive Tech Zone. That's a working title, but the idea of the Interactive Tech Zone is it provides an engaging and educational and fun area to the show, or the show floor, where attendees can interactively learn. And they can learn about innovative areas of technology. So I don't want to give too much away, but there'll be lots of technology on show and lots of activities that the attendees can experience. Things like virtual reality experiences, gestural technology, facial recognition and wearables, all that kind of fun stuff. So we may also have some kind of rapid prototyping, like a lab, where if anybody's got a really cool idea for any sort of cruise related software or app, we'll have a team of developers that they can build a prototype using all the latest methods to bring their ideas to life. So there's going to be a lot on show there. Quite excited about it.
Oh my God, I'm really, really, really excited about this. I've started looking for my tickets, my hotels. I am hopeful that I will bring the family as well with me this time. But you know what? Listen, the first thing I'm excited that we, after a couple of years, we will have the opportunity, CPAA, Shannon, Roger, and me, and some other friends will be able to meet in person and enjoy a good drink out. The second thing is that, we have a lot of friends around the cruise industry. It's a small family, and I call it a family, but it is a family. And I would very much like to catch up with some of them in person to see how they are, how they struggled, how they thrived through this time, and of course see our partners, the cruise lines. Personally, I've been in contact as Roger and Shannon constantly, all the time via Zoom, to catch up and see how things are going, and especially here in Greece when we are programming the restart, the communication was on a daily basis, Saturday night, Sunday evening, etc. But to be able to see them in person and shake their hand and say job well done is something different. So I'm really, really looking forward for that. I know that the event this year is going to be with all safety precautions in place, and I encourage all of them out there, do make the effort and come to Miami. This is the place to be. This is the place to conduct a business and expand your network. And we're going to be there, and we're going to be waiting to see you all.
Absolutely. Giannis, I have to 100% agree with you there. that, you know, for me, the always one of the best parts of Seatrade is just being able to reconnect with the industry on a whole. And as much as we watch seminars and we read the trades, it's just different when you have that contact with each other one-to-one, and you get to feel and see and hear with all your senses to be together. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to, I think there's going to be some interesting conversations coming out. I think on the other side of, you know, Omicron, and again, Roger and I talked about this a little bit before, we're not very good prognosticators because I've been overly optimistic from day one. Oh, it's only going to be a couple months and we're going to be back in business. And here we are almost 2 years later. But I do feel that we're going to be, you know, pretty much on the other side of Omicron by the time that we are together again in Miami. And with that being said, I think that, you know, there's going to be some healthy conversations, and there's going to be some great presentations that we'll get to see outside of health and safety measures, that we'll get in depth to some really good, juicy meat on what's happening in the ports and on the ships and branding and new technologies and all of that there. So I can't wait to see what the conference schedule is going to look like and what we're going to learn, because I know that there's a lot to learn from each other when we come together again.
Well, I'm looking forward to, first of all, Destination Day, which is the day that we tend to lead. And it's exciting. Last time, I think one of my first remarks when Shannon and I welcomed everybody on the Monday morning after not having been together for, I guess, 2.5 years at Seatrade, well, it was a long time, was that it was really great because, like Yana said, we see each other on Zoom, but standing in front of people, I actually had pants on. So I won't.
Are you gonna stand up? No.
No, folks. Oh, by the way, for you folks in England, that means trousers. Just so you're not confused as far as how I'm sitting here. But I am looking forward to seeing everybody. There's really a lot to talk about. And even though this is unusual, because normally we get together for Seatrade Cruise Global once a year, and we just got together in the fall, a lot's happened since then. There's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about COVID, but I agree with Shannon. That's not going to be the focus. Right now, resiliency is a theme, and we've learned a lot in this resilience period, not just how to survive, which is part of resiliency, but how to progress. And at this Seatrade, we're going to have a real chance to talk about how we progressed and where we're going, what we're doing with these lessons learned, how it's affecting the future, whether it's onboard ships in the destinations, or Shannon, like Shannon said, throughout, there's so many facets of this industry. Supply chain, of course, is a big thing. You name it. So I'm looking forward to that, and also just to see everybody. Seatrade did a remarkable job pulling off the conference back in when was it, September, and we had great participation, considering that Europeans couldn't come, Asians couldn't come. This time, I'm looking forward to really seeing everybody back together. And we have a lot to do. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to learn from each other. And I'm looking forward to it.
And I must say to all, you know, go ahead and reserve your place, get your tickets, get your hotels ready, because the pressure is on. And I am very, very optimistic that, you know, that we all will have a blast, and that, you know, new deals, in reality, new deals and new businesses will be generated in Seatrade. So I'm really looking forward for it.
It's happening. Make sure you get your hotels booked, right?
I think this is going to be a great opportunity to actually start looking ahead. I think the cruise executives that we all know and we speak to all want to be planning for the future, and they're so busy every day with something new coming up and changing, that I'm thinking that by the time we get to April, the cruise executives we're going to be able to meet with and the destinations and everyone we're talking to are going to be really looking towards the future.
So looking forward to seeing you guys in person. Roger, you and I see each other all the time, but Giannis, I can't wait till you're here and we get to be together again.
We'll see you all, yes, in Miami.